The Ink and Paint Club podcast is intended for mature audiences. I know we're usually talking about kids' cartoons and stuff, but there's going to be naughty language. Anyway, listener discretion is advised.
I'm not saying that I don't hide sometimes at work, but I mean, predominantly I do actually do my job, surprisingly,
You've never gone, oh yeah, let me check in the back, and then just never fucking come out again? I've done that before.
You're listening to the Ink and Paint Club podcast, your weekly home for animation reviews and discussions.
Hey everyone, this is the Ink and Paint Club podcast. I am Matt. That over there is Kyle.
It's me over there.
That's him in the corner. That's him in the spotlight.
Yeah.
Our buddy JD is MIA again this week. I think maybe he turned into a ghost and we just can't see him. Maybe he's here with us tonight and we just can't see or hear him. Because tonight we are talking about Casper, the first feature-length movie for the Casper franchise, which started off as comics, I believe. Like, what was it? You said it Harvey Comics? That's the original publisher?
Yep, Harvey Comics.
Yeah, so they originally started some comics, and then also they had some cartoons, like some older cartoons. And then this movie came out in 1995, and it sort of led to like a resurgence of like Casper stuff. I know like they had a number of directed video stuff that came afterwards, and they had a show and all that sort of thing. But this is like the big revival for them. I guess this is like Harvey Comics' big sort of revival. I don't know that they really I guess they did a movie for Richie Rich too, I think, right? It was
yeah. That was
Macaulay
like,
Culkin on that?
I think it was.
Yeah.
Well, that was like a blank check kind of rip-off movie, I want to say.
So there was that, and then like I'm trying to think of some other Harvey Comics characters, like because you said Baby Huey was another one, and I think
Yeah.
I remember Baby Huey comics, or not comics, cartoons, but I think I doubt that they really did anything like more modern with them, like in the 90s. I don't remember anyway.
For what?
For Baby Huey.
Fuck. I want to say there was a cartoon.
Like just a straight up baby. Maybe, I don't know. That wasn't something I did research on. I was mostly preoccupied with researching Casper. So, not even all Casper, honestly, just the stuff pertinent to the movie. So, yeah, just trying to like think off the top of my head some other like Harvey Comics stuff. I know because the most recent big Harvey Comics thing that came out was it Harvey Kids or something on Netflix?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so Harvey has that, and I think that's just like sort of an amalgamation of like a ton of comics characters that they have, sort of like thrown into one universe. I wonder if I gotta imagine they have like some of the bigger ones like Richie Rich and Casper and stuff in there as well.
Well, it's just the Harvey girls. There's Audrey, Dot,
that's what it is.
Harvey girls. That's all it is. But yeah, there's like Hot Stuff, the Little Devil, Wendy the Good Witch, which fucking Hilary Duff was in a.
Yeah, Casper Meets Wendy.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that might have been the only directed DVD thing that I can recall seeing of the Casper ones. I didn't know that was fucking Hilary Duff though. That's interesting.
Yeah. Baby Huey. I guess Felix the cat is like part of that crew.
Oh, really? Shit.
Yeah. I looked it up. Fucking Casper's been around since like 1939.
Yeah, I mean, it's a fucking old style. Well, and I mean, and they keep a lot of that sort of, I guess, canonized in this interpretation of Casper too, because I think this is like the first sort of Casper thing that they did that actually kind of explores, like what the afterlife is and like what being a ghost is and like how Casper died and stuff. I think this is like the first time that they kind of go into any of that. And yeah, so they kind of explore that topic here, which is pretty interesting. I guess there must have been enough interest from fans out there about how that all that sort of works, like in the Casper series, that they felt they had to address it for the movie.
I just feel like that's unnecessary bullshit that they had, just like I don't know, anything that the Grinch has, or they have to make like a tragic backstory or some bullshit like that. Like,
instead of him just being just a dick for the sake of being a dick.
yeah, it's just like you can't take Casper just being a fucking ghost, like some supernatural entity. You have to have it where, oh, it's a little boy that died of pneumonia and his father went crazy. Like, it's kind of unnecessary to me in that sense, but I guess for the common moviegoer, you need that.
Well, the common moviegoer of 1995, anyway. Well, anyway, so yeah, the reason why I got on that was because, yeah, when they were sort of exploring Casper's origins as to like around when he died, I think they had like newspaper clippings of like his dad and stuff, and it's like an older style photo. It looks like fucking he's like a maybe not Victorian era, but like, you know, maybe a little bit more recent than that. But it's definitely like, and it's weird because there's a lot of like disparity there because there's a lot of like deferring stuff because I think and we were getting a little bit ahead of ourselves actually, like as far as talking about the plot stuff. Yeah, so as far as the Halloween stuff that we're covering on the podcast goes, I definitely I made a case for this one of wanting to talk about it just based on two factors. The one factor being that I remember being like a really big fan of the movie as a kid, and I hadn't seen it like in years. Like I think the last time I really watched it was when I was, you know, younger. Like if this came out in '95, I was like 4 years old, but I imagine I was probably watching it like when I was like, you know, 5, 6. So, yeah, that must have been like the really last like time I genuinely like watched the whole thing front to back. And then the other factor too is it's so it came out in 1985, so it's a 25th anniversary, or it's it's 25th anniversary passed. And I think that was in May, but you know, we figured, you know, we would be doing a slate of Halloween episodes, so I was going to try to save it until then. Actually, okay, so there was a third factor too. Apparently, JD hates this movie, and unfortunately, he was not around for unrelated reasons, I think. But if we're lucky, he may add something in post about why he hates the movie. So hopefully, if not, then just ignore this. But yeah, so I just thought, you know, it'd been fucking forever since I watched this movie. And with its anniversary having passed, I was like, you know, a good time to watch through it. I totally forgot like a portion of the movie actually takes place like on Halloween, or at least like very close to Halloween, so it's even more appropriate there. I always like to go like into sort of like the little production histories on this sort of thing, and because this is like, you know, it's predominantly a live action movie, but I mean like the main character is animated, so it kind of works for the show in that regard, kind of like in the same way, like, you know, we reviewed Sonic earlier in the year, so it's like, you know, that movie's mostly live action, but like one of the main characters is all animated, so, you know, it fucking definitely counts. It's like, you know, talking about like, you know, Roger Rabbit or something. I mean, like, you know, that maybe that one's a special case because that's like, you know, predominantly an animated movie, and maybe like, well, it's like maybe half and half in that regard.
That's enough.
Yeah. So as far as the production stuff goes, I did like probably the most research on this one than anything else, just because, you know, I kept on falling down these little rabbit holes where it was like, oh, well, this person worked on this, and then also this other person worked on these same series of movies. So, anyway, Casper was, I believe, I forgot to write this one down, but I'm almost certain it's produced by Amblin Entertainment, because I think Spielberg was definitely integral to this adaptation getting made. The director's name is Brad Seiberling. As far as his film credits go, his most notable one, aside from Casper, that I saw was he did the Lemony Snicket's A Series of Unfortunate Events, the one with Jim Carrey back in 2004.
Huh. Equally not liked movie.
I mean, I've heard people that say that they really... Well, I mean, I guess in comparison to the Netflix show they did, it's... Because, I mean, you know, it's like a whole ass series of novels, so I think it's one of those things where they can only adapt like the first one, or maybe they try to jam too much. I don't know, I've never seen it. Big Jim Carrey fan I am, but...
I watched a whole video about the fucking directors and all this kind of stuff, just like absolutely hated the movie, or the writer did. Something. I don't remember. I know it's not well liked between people that were involved.
Sure. as far as the writers go, this was actually a bit surprising to me because typically you've got like people that predominantly write for movies, but I saw who wrote this one, and it's I'm sure maybe some names that you might recognize is Deanna Oliver and Sherry Stoner. That last one for sure, because I guess both of them did, or they were on the writing teams for Tiny Toon Adventures and Animaniacs.
Oh.
So pretty interesting that they brought them on to do like this whole ass like Hollywood production, which I believe was like their first kind of thing that they did in that regard. But then as far as them individually, they actually have some interesting credits. Sherry Stoner, of course, voiced Slappy Squirrel in Animaniacs. And she was also the animation model for Ariel and Belle on Little Mermaid and Beauty and the Beast. Kind of like, the live action model that they base the movements on. Not like rotoscope, but like, for reference material.
Well, I'll be damned.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting stuff. And then Deanna Oliver was the voice for Toaster for the Brave Little Toaster movies. It's pretty neat. And then also they both wrote the screenplay for My Favorite Martian, the one with Christopher Lloyd.
Good Lord.
Yeah, so it's just like I said, just a bunch of like weird little like stuff here and there, and I gotta imagine probably that's got some connection to like Amblin or something too. Oh, and then the other thing too is apparently J.J. Abrams did like an uncredited like a pass on the ending to this movie. I guess that was back before he was like really well known in the industry, and he just sort of came on and just like rewrote and didn't get credited for some reason, which I think is kind of weird, but that's definitely interesting in itself. Scores by James Horner, who I'm sure he's got like a plenty of other credits to his name, but the big one was that he composed the scores to like two of the most financially successful movies of all time. He did the score to Titanic, and he did the score to Avatar. So,
oof.
He's got that James Cameron connection, or he did. Unfortunately, he passed away in 2015 due to a piloting accident. Apparently, he was a very avid pilot, and he unfortunately crashed and stuff. So, R.I.P.
I don't know if you could say that he passed away when he.
Well, you know what I mean. It's all the same thing.
It's more like he died.
He died. Okay, yeah, he died. He died in a pilot accident. It's the same shit. You know what I meant. Cinematography was done by Dean Cundy, I believe is how you pronounce it. Like I said, these people have done like tons of stuff, but like the most notable for him was he did the cinematography for the Back to the Future trilogy, and also the cinematography for Who Framed Roger Rabbit. And then right, so and this was kind of like what I was getting to here was the visual effects for the movie. The whole reason why it's kind of even on this podcast in the first place is the visual effects were done by Industrial Light and Magic, more commonly known as ILM, who have if you've seen a movie, it's very likely that you've seen some of their work. I mean, they were established to work on the original Star Wars, so they go back to like I think 1979 I think is when that came out. And they've just been doing shit ever since. And they're kind of like the foremost like innovators like in the visual effects realm. But as far as like the series that they're kind of responsible for providing visual effects to, like I'm pretty sure like they did all the movies in these series, or like the majority of, but they're responsible for like the Star Wars, any like live action production for Star Wars, Indiana Jones, Jurassic Park, Harry Potter, Pirates of the Caribbean, Terminator, Star Trek, Transformers, Men in Black, Mission Impossible, basically most, if not all, Marvel movies, and also Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Golly.
Yeah, no, and so the reason why it is kind of Casper is like one of the big milestone movies that they did, because it was the first fully synthetic speaking, computer generated character with a distinct personality and emotion, which is how it's phrased on Wikipedia. If you're kind of interested in seeing kind of like a lot more of the sort of advancements that they made in the visual effects realm, you can there's a pretty good list of them on Wikipedia. Just off the top of my head, I know that the most recent thing that they did was for The Mandalorian, the show on Disney Plus. They kind of innovated this method of filming, like the where they shot pretty much like most scenes from that show like on a sound stage, but like it's like a big orb, or not like a big orb, but like a big like sort of UFO shaped space that they stand in. That's like all screens that they digitally like put the backgrounds on, so it like looks like they're fucking filming like on location in places that they're not actually in. It's kind of like, like akin to like filming on a green screen, but like actually having the image there while they film, and like it just looks really seamless. Like it's very impressive. But yeah, so if you're interested in checking out kind of like what other advancements ILM's made, Wikipedia's got a pretty good summary of like the stuff that they made. I think that kind of wraps up stuff on the production front. As far as the movie goes, did you watch this movie when it came out, or like did you was it your first time seeing it, or like what's your history with it?
Man, I don't know if I saw this in theaters or not, but I know I have the VHS of it.
I remember owning the VHS too. Like that was definitely like on heavy rotation in my house.
Yeah. No, I definitely remember watching it as a kid, but literally have never thought about it until now.
So I guess it didn't leave as much as an impact on you. Well, I mean, I don't know that I would say that it left like a big impact on me. Like I said, I haven't seen it since I was a kid either, but I do recall enjoying it a lot as a kid. So at least back then, it definitely had some sort of impact on me. I don't know what it was about it. It was just like, and I think it's just other movies of this era just have this very particular feel to them that just feel very. I don't know. Maybe it's just nostalgia I'm thinking of, but like I don't know. It's something about it that just seemed like very like cozy movies, especially this one. Like the sort of central location for the movie is like the haunted house that they're living in, and just I've always really enjoyed the sort of general aesthetic and design of like the place, and like I of course I barely remembered anything about the movie up until rewatching it for this show, and totally forgot that like they had this whole like technological aspect to it, like about the dad being an inventor and like having all these contraptions around the house, like just like even little things like there's a scene where Casper's making breakfast for the bone bags or whatever the fuck the the ghostly trio call them. And like they have just like this little machine that like I think Casper hits a clock and like a fucking egg like rolls on like a little rail, and then like it gets cracked open to a pan. And I seem to remember that sequence being like a lot more involved as a kid, but I think uh I was kind of interchanging it with the fucking breakfast machine from a Pee-wee's Big Adventure.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, and it's weird because Pee-wee's Big Adventure was not even a movie that I remember seeing like a lot of as a kid, but for some reason I think I just implanted that memory wrong or something. You know how it is, you get like your shit crossed up sometimes. But then like you got like even the larger like sort of set pieces like the fucking like armchair that that like they sit into like sends them backwards like into the fucking it's like a kind of like a car wash, but like for a person, like they got like the fucking the shaving cream and like the razor blades and the fucking toothbrush and shit, and it sends them down to like the fucking underground lab, and it's like this big set piece with like a big like fog pit in the middle and like this giant like gothic machine like next to it. It's like really cool like imagery that I think really is neat. Um yeah, and so like in regards to that, like I kind of noticed some stuff here. I'm not sure if you got the same vibe when watching it, but and I don't know that I imagine it's probably been documented somewhere. Maybe not like a concrete connection or anything, but I got like a lot of, like for the original anyway, the original game. But I got like a lot of Luigi's Mansion vibes rewatching this.
No, sir.
Really?
Yeah.
Just me? Oh, okay. I think it has to do kind of like with I mean, well, I'll take the thing that actually kind of set me off thinking that way, because I was like, there's a bit in there where James, Bill Pullman's character, is like fighting the ghostly trio, and like he pulls out a plunger, and then he actually uses like a straight up like Hoover vacuum to like kind of dispose of them for a while, and then it kind of got me thinking. I was like thinking on the design of like the ghosts and stuff, and thinking back to like how they're kind of were designed in the original Luigi's Mansion and stuff. And then thinking like how obviously that game has like, you know, a fucking vacuum, and later on in the Luigi's Mansion series, they actually weaponize like the plungers and stuff, which I always kind of took as like, you know, being like, oh, well, you know, Luigi and Mario are supposed to be like plumbers in certain aspects or something. So I kind of always thought it was like that. But now I'm starting to think that Casper might have had like an actual direct influence on the original game.
Maybe, you never know.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like, because when I started thinking about the designs of like the ghosts, like I was thinking like, yeah, these actually look like they would fit in like like aside from them all being like the same like sort of pale white color. Like if you started coloring like all the different ghost designs of this movie like different colors from each other, you could like easily put them in fucking Luigi's Mansion. I think they would fit right in. Yeah,
Those pictures have been around since the 30s, man.
Yeah, but they haven't always looked like that. I mean, fucking, I think Casper like had legs before this movie, and then they got rid of them and turned him into like a more, I guess, traditional like, you know, wispy tail and shit. And the fucking ghostly trio look nothing like. Well, like, I've seen covers for some of the original ghostly trio like comic books and stuff, and yeah, they don't look anything like that. I think they maybe eventually progressed to that point. I don't know if they made like a hard redesigned specifically for the movie. I don't know where fucking Casper was at before this movie actually happened. So, or you know, maybe the cartoons and stuff. But, yeah,
the ghostly trio look like the Ghostbusters logo.
yeah. Apparently, enough that that was actually something that was noted when I was looking up the Casper stuff, because apparently whoever owns the rights to no, I guess yeah, Harvey Comics or whoever like owns Harvey Comics sued whoever did Ghostbusters. Was that Columbia? I think.
I think so. Sounds about right.
Yeah, so they sued them because apparently Fatso looked too much like the Ghostbusters logo ghost.
He really does.
He does, but I think they threw out that case based solely on the fact like there's only so many ways you could draw like the stylization of like a cartoon ghost, like, which is, you know, totally fair. I doubt that they were probably trying to. I mean, if anything, he kind of resembles Slimer more than like the actual logo ghost.
Well, yeah.
As far as mannerisms and stuff, but I guess Slimer's kind of like more of an amalgam of like all three ghosts as far as like personality is concerned.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's weird is I always thought they were his brothers, but they're his fucking uncles.
Yeah, and I don't think that was something that was ever totally, or I think it might differ like in every iteration or something. Sometimes they're related and sometimes they're not. I don't really know how deep the Casper lore goes. If there's anyone more knowledgeable on the subject than me, you can sound off on the comments on the YouTube video, and we can maybe make a adjustment later or something, but probably not. Anyway, yeah. So well, okay. So actually, we talked about, or I asked you if you had seen this movie when you were a kid, and I guess you said you hadn't seen it at least since then. But what did you think of the movie watching it now?
It's just whatever. Like, it's in that category of early 90s CG, like The Mask and Babe and 101 Dalmatians. It's all like really fucking old CG, but I mean, it wasn't that bad. It's just not my favorite movie.
Yeah, I mean, and that's fair. I don't know. I feel like it's aged particularly well as far as CG stuff goes, and I mean, obviously, it's shown some age just because of, you know, it's fucking 90s CG. But I mean, I think they stylized the ghosts enough that I feel like parts of it definitely still hold up. There's definitely like some animation techniques here and there that are, yeah, definitely showing their wear and tear. But they do like a lot of really fun stuff with like the animation in here, though. Like, there's a lot of like really fun visual gags with the ghosts, like, you know, coming through there's actually the one specific one that I wrote down was the fucking ghostly trio lowering like from the ceiling, like with their tails as like propellers for a helicopter, and they're fucking playing Flight of the Valkyries in the background, like Apocalypse Now.
Yeah,
that was pretty fun.
I think their tails and the tips of their heads were spinning.
Oh, okay. I only know the
Don't
one.
make too much sense, but
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of like fun little things with Casper too. There's like a bit there where he's like he comes right underneath the Christina Richie's head and like is a pillow, and then like she starts beating the shit out of him, like fucking fluff the pillow. That was pretty funny. Or like fucking he shoves himself in the sink to like carry water to like revive her, and like he like twists himself out, like wrings himself out like a fucking cloth.
he pisses on him.
Well, I mean, I think he's more akin to like a cloud or something, but you know, one of the fucking bits in there I had always remembered being in a different movie, but I guess it was this one. Fucking, there's a bit in there where Bill Pullman's character faints, and the ghostly trio like sort of possess him, and he goes into the bathroom and he's looking in the mirror, and like he starts turning into other actors. Like he turns into Clint Eastwood, he turns into Rodney Dangerfield, and then he turns into fucking the Crypt Keeper, which is pretty funny. Apparently, they had filmed a fourth cameo, and it was Steven Spielberg, but they cut it just because I guess it didn't pace well. You know, rules of threes and everything. And I guess, you know, if you have those four, oh no, sorry, it was Mel Gibson was in there too, so it would have been rules of 4 instead of 5. I don't know, but yeah, maybe that one hasn't, maybe that specific reference hasn't aged as well. Fucking Mel Gibson's a mess.
Who's Steven Spielberg?
He's the father of the Animaniacs, I think.
Oh yeah.
I think he showed up in the. Did you watch the trailer for the new Animaniacs? He's in there. I don't think that's him voicing him though.
It is him.
Is it him voicing too? Oh.
Yeah. I want to say that's him. That's how he sounded like in the original cartoon.
It's been a while since I'd seen this fucking, like, I remember the scene of like, I think it was in Freakazoid, right? Because it was Freakazoid and Wacko and I think the Brain, right? Or Pinky.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, so I remember the scene, but I don't remember how. I mean, I know what Steven Spielberg sounds like, but I can't remember how he does his voice for like the cameos and stuff. So it was kind of yeah. So actually, another Animaniacs connection there. Checking, like we were talking about with the writers earlier. Thought that was neat. Oh shit. Okay, there's actually 2 other production things I forgot to bring up. I was looking at the kind of short list of I guess all the actors that were in consideration for Bill Pullman's character James, and apparently they had it was like on their short list they had Tom Hanks, Tim Allen, and Robin Williams, and
Oof.
I thought that was interesting because I actually wrote down in my notes that James in this movie reminded me a lot of, like, I don't know what it was. I think maybe the way the hair was styled and him wearing the glasses and stuff, but it reminded me a lot of Robin Williams.
I had the same feeling. I was gonna make a joke about it.
Yeah.
My favorite Robin Williams role.
And the thing about that that's funny is I think Industrial Light and Magic the year right after this came out in 1996 would go on to do Flubber, which had Robin Williams in it, and I think he looks like pretty much they're playing like the same, like their designs kind of look very similar.
Jesus.
That's another one we should cover on the show sometime. I don't even know that I've actually seen all of Flubber. I think I've seen bits on TV and stuff, but that's another one where I guess technically, you know, the namesake of the movie is an animated character and he's in there for a good part of it. So it might fit the criteria. If you want to hear us talk about Flubber, fucking tell us. Maybe we will. Who knows? Maybe next year for his anniversary.
I saw Flubber in theaters.
I don't even know what the fucking, because that's actually a remake, right? That's like a fucking Jerry Lee Lewis movie originally, I think.
It is.
Yeah. Pretty bizarre. The other note I had here, which I thought was pretty interesting, was apparently they were supposed to do a theatrical sequel to this. Obviously there was the directed DVDs or the directed video stuff that came later, but they had made a push to do a theatrical sequel. And the only reason why it didn't happen was because Bill Pullman and Christina Richie's schedules at the time weren't open enough to kind of have, it wasn't free enough for them to be available for it, so they just canned it. I guess maybe the reception to some of that direct-to-video stuff wasn't all that it was cut out to be. So I think maybe they thought that demand for Casper was down too, so that might have contributed to it. So
it's so dumb. You just write them off. They fucking died, something like that. Just write them off and have introduce new characters. It's like not gonna affect anything. No one's gonna give a shit.
Yeah,
you're not there to watch the human characters.
And that's weird because since they didn't do a straight up movie sequel, they ended up doing the cartoon, the fucking Spooktacular Adventures, I think is what it was called. I forgot to write it down, but it ran for like 4 seasons from 1996 to 1998, and they have those characters in there, but they're voiced by like voice actors. I think you mentioned what Dan Castellaneta does, Bill Pullman's character, and then I can't remember who does Christina Richie's character.
I read it as it was Kathy Susie.
Oh right, okay, yeah, that's I did watch like a little snippet of it like yesterday, and I was like, oh, that voice sounds familiar. It's a voice that you hear like in a lot of cartoons of this era, but it's like I can never remember her name. But yeah, Katsusi, that's who it was. But anyway, so
there you go.
When they were gonna do the sequel, the theatrical sequel, it was supposed to be written and directed by Simon Wells, who is the great grandson of H.G. Wells, the science fiction author, the one that did War of the Worlds and Invisible Man.
Golly.
Which is pretty interesting. And then I also found out that later on, Simon Wells would actually go on to direct the theatrical adaptation of War of the Worlds. So I'd always thought that was pretty a neat connection, doing an adaptation of your great grandfather's like novel, like when you kind of keep stuff in the family. It's pretty neat, I think. Let's see some of the other stuff that was fucking going on in this movie.
Human. They turned Casper human, and it was weird. I didn't like it.
I wonder if that's maybe something that didn't originally happen in the end. I think that maybe that might have been the thing that J.J. Abrams brought to the table. I'm kind of wondering how this movie originally would have ended without his.
Is there a lot of lens flare and shit on it? Because definitely would have been him.
Well, I mean, he just wrote it. I don't think he was into directing stuff at the time, so I think we might have missed out on.
The one thing I remember from watching this as a kid was the big party at the end. That's all I remember. So watching this was like, oh yeah. It was a lot of rediscovering shit.
You know what it was? That fucking scene always reminded me of and I think it's probably because I'm assuming it came out like probably like a year before it did, but something about like the main sort of lobby of the Pagemaster.
Oh yeah.
I don't know why it is, and I think maybe it's just the overall design of the sort of the main room of the mansion, and then like the main sort of hall of the library and the Pagemaster, something about maybe just like the architecture and stuff, and it being kind of like dark and spooky and stuff. That's you guys ever talked about the Pagemaster on here?
Nope.
Shit, I should fucking talk about that sometime. I fucking loved that movie when I was a kid too. I'm sure that one holds up a lot better.
I always forget that movie exists. It's not too great.
Well, I mean, I think any movie that aims to fucking like combine live action with animation is always like very neat, just from a novel, like sort of, the combination of stuff. Like, I don't know, that shit always like impressed me as a kid, and I always really had a reverence for that sort of stuff.
I bet this motherfucker like Rockadoodle.
You know what? I think I've seen Rockadoodle more recently than I've seen Casper again. I remembered back in my live streaming days, like probably at the turn of the last decade. I don't know why I downloaded it and I streamed it once, and I have no idea why. I think maybe I must have seen a thread like on the comics and cartoons board on 4chan that was talking about it. I was like, I don't think I've ever seen that Don Bluth movie. I should check it out, and fucking I should like have a bunch of other people watch it with me too.
I had it on Laserdisc, bro.
Oh my god.
I know, right? Yeah.
Yeah, God, fucking. Oh right, okay, yeah, okay. I was like, why did he bring up Rockadoodle? Because I fucking forgot there's the live action shit in there too.
Yeah. That's
Oh
why
my
I
god.
bought it.
Yeah, that's definitely
Fucking cartoon owls chasing a human boy.
yeah. Yeah, definitely not one of the stronger Don Bluth movies. I mean, you know, it's kind of hard to live up to a lot of the other stuff that he did for sure.
Yeah.
Ending of this movie is a bit confused. And now I'm actually starting to wonder if maybe this is the only contribution that J.J. Abrams made was when they fucking scare all the party goers out of the house, and like it's just Christina Richie, Bill Pullman, Casper, and the Ghostly Trio, and the fucking Ghostly Trio like show up and they're all dressed like Little Richard, and the fucking Little Richard version of the Casper theme starts playing.
The thing that bothered me about this movie was he's like, "Hey, check this out. My dead mom wore this," and then she wears his dead mom's clothes for like the rest of the movie.
Yeah.
I found it weird.
Yeah, that was a little weird. I don't know. That's fucking. So there's some stuff in here that's maybe just I don't know, man. It's a bit of it's a bit bizarre. Apparently, Christina Richie is not a big fan of this movie now. I can kind of see why. I don't know. I get it. Yeah. Well, I don't know. Maybe she didn't. You know, fucking kid actors of the day. I think the fucking parents get the money and then they're supposed to save it for them. But I don't know if maybe Christina Richie was in one of those situations where she maybe didn't get to see all the returns on all the roles she did. Hopefully she did, but I don't know.
Oof, that would suck.
And I was actually trying to think like, what other shit have I seen Christina Richie on? Because like I remember as fucking Wednesday in the Addams Family movies, but I was trying to think of like other stuff that that I might have seen with her in it, and she hasn't. I mean, she's been in other stuff, but it's just nothing that I've ever seen. And then yeah, as far as Bill Pullman goes, when I was looking at his credits, I was like, oh, I recognize Independence Day, like he played the president in that, but I was like, I could have sworn I'd seen him in more stuff, but I guess not, because none of the other stuff that I saw on the list was stuff that I remembered seeing.
Christina Richie was hair contract.
Wait, say again? Sorry, you kind of cut out.
It said she was Tara in Teen Titans, one of the movies that just came out.
Oh, the fuck. Okay, not the original cartoon, like one of the DC animated universe directed DVD ones that they've done. Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
she was in Speed Racer as Trixie, another good CG movie that I didn't know before.
Sure. Okay, right. There was one other thing I wanted to bring up. So the resurrection machine that Casper's dad made is called the Lazarus. And I know that is probably a reference to like some older thing, but the only thing I could think of when I saw like the big fog pit in the middle was like a fucking Lazarus pit from Batman. But I don't know what the actual like term for Lazarus derives from. I'm sure it must be like some sort of fucking like old like god or like a Greek or Roman or something.
It's Bible stuff. It's called the Lazarus of Bethany.
Okay.
Saint Lazarus.
Okay.
It says 4 days from being dead, he rose again.
Okay. Okay. Well, now I know. Yeah, because like I said, the only frame of reference I had was fucking Batman. I'm like, yeah, of course it would be.
Stop giving Batman credit.
Batman stealing all the credit. Oh shit, we didn't even talk about the fucking there's like a little number of cameos in this movie. Aside from the ones that the ones that happened in the possession scene, there's the fucking like the beginning of the movie when the main villains who's fucking Kerrigan and Dibbs, and Dibbs is played by Eric Idle of Monty Python fame. But they they explore the mansion a bit, they get scared out, and then they like send some other people in. There's a pastor character who's apparently a reference to like something, but I never understood it as a kid, and I still don't understand it now.
I looked it up and I'm like, yeah, I don't get that. Then
Yeah.
I read something Saturday Night Live, and then they said that he had a column. Still doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah. But then, of course, the more well-known one being fucking Dan Aykroyd comes in as fucking, in his Ghostbuster outfit and his, little mustache and like gets scared off.
It's a silly one, but it kind of makes me mad too.
Right, because that's implying that the fucking ghostly trio are anywhere like worse than any of the shit they encountered in those two other Ghostbusters movies.
Exactly. It's like, it's a cute little cameo, but it kind of makes you mad because this fucking cartoon ghost is more scary than Stay Puft or some shit like that.
Because those fucking ghosts actually cause like collateral damage. The fucking worst thing that the ghosts, these ghosts in this movie do is like, I mean, they're just like fucking up their own house, and like that's fair. They fucking live there. They're squatting there. That's their right to fucking destroy their own house. But
they tried to kill Bill Pullman with swords at first.
Well, they tried, and then they didn't, and then he ended up falling in a manhole and dying anyway. So that can't be blamed on them.
Then they pull a shotgun on him.
Yeah. That was another fucking gag that I thought was really funny. Fucking Stinky tosses the fucking shotgun and it fires into the ceiling. Like, that was pretty funny.
I was hoping it would have killed the guy, but
the dude that's sleeping on the table. God.
Yeah.
They just have like one little instance of just straight up gore in the movie, just like a split second.
Yeah.
Just enough to be like fucking watching it in the theaters in '95 and be like, wait, did I just see? No way. And then like it's edited out of the fucking home release.
Yeah. They straight up, I guess, murder the guy, the pastor guy. They fucking tore his neck around.
Nah, he was fine. He walked away. He was fucking vibing. He was fine.
That was a little fucked up.
That was a little fucked up. Yeah, but I think for the most part, they're really not that menacing. I mean, Casper obviously isn't, but then like, yeah, the ghostly trio, they're just more like, they're just having a time of their unlives, I guess. They're fucking going around just like stealing shit, and like they have like a ghost horse when they were first introduced that fucking saddle just rides off. And I thought that was weird because fucking like you can see the ghost, but you can't see the fucking horse, or the ghost horse, or whatever the fuck it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty weird. Yeah, and I thought that was definitely something watching this movie I was like, they could have maybe spent more time on, because they kind of skip a lot of, I mean, obviously they're going to focus more on fucking Cat and Casper's whole thing. But I feel like more scenes with the uncles and James would have been pretty fun, because I did like what they had, like as far as them fencing with each other, and them having like the karaoke, like when fucking to get James drunk and everything. I thought it'd be probably fun to have a bit more of that, especially because their whole impetus for them like pulling the guns and knives on them to kill them is because they want to turn their ghostly trio into a ghostly quartet. And it's like, I feel like we haven't had enough screen time with them all to really kind of necessitate this. It just kind of feels like they maybe skipped over some steps.
Maybe there's a director's cut that hasn't been released. There's a Spielberg cut out there somewhere.
Really? Yeah, hashtag release the Spielberg cut of Casper.
Yeah.
Get it fucking trending on the Twitters, everyone. Fucking get it made. We'll turn fucking Casper into like a 4-hour-long mini-series on fucking HBO Max.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I don't know that they're fully decided on what the fuck they're doing with the Snyder Cut of Justice League, but the last I heard, that's what they're doing, and that's kind of pretty outrageous. And that's coming from somebody that loves the nearly 4-hour cut of Watchmen, which is another Zack Snyder thing, but that's neither here nor there.
I bet you watched the Lord of the Rings.
Surprisingly enough, no. I've seen I've seen Two Towers and Return of the King in theaters, and then I've never seen Fellowship of the Ring. And in fact, that was the weird part, is because I owned that one on DVD for some reason. I think I got it as a gift, and I still haven't seen it. And and I've never watched like I've definitely considered watching like the extended cuts of like all those fucking movies like that and The Hobbit, and I'm just like, I think I'm fine. I don't really have like a huge urge to do this right now. Maybe later in life. Maybe once I start reaching like wizard age, maybe I'll start feeling the Lord of the Rings.
Oh no.
Ben Stein shows up at the beginning of the movie too. It's always fun to see him pop up in fucking everything. Like I think he was also in The Mask around this time. Obviously, he got really popular because he was in Ferris Bueller. There's like a lot of voice work too. I think fucking Win Ben Stein's Money, that was the big one that everyone was like fucking knew him from too.
What a crazy man.
Yeah, he's fucking very monotone and doesn't speak up, and
he was in
whole shtick.
He was in Sharknado.
Oh my god.
He was in As Told by Ginger.
Oh my god, really? Huh.
Apparently.
Weird.
He hasn't done anything in 2018, so.
He's on the way out. Fucking Ben Stein isn't the new hotness anymore. This is getting too old to stick up with his doesn't really do much cat typecast character.
Yeah.
That's whatever. I think I kind of covered all the notable parts of this movie. I feel like, it's a fun family movie. It's obviously not like, a big old classic like, fucking Nightmare Before Christmas or like Hocus Pocus or anything like that. But, I remember little me liking it a lot, and I watched it here and I thought it was a very fun watch. I would definitely be down to add it to my Halloween rotation of movies for sure. But if you got kids out there and you haven't checked out this movie, they might dig it. They might think it's a fun watch.
It says right here, Ben Stein supports Donald Trump.
Yeesh. Well,
let's cancel him on Twitter. Let's start the hashtag cancel Ben Stein.
Steal Ben Stein's money through taxes. Yeah. Oh, right. So I told him that we would leave him a little bit of time at the end of this episode because I really wanted to hear exactly why he apparently despises this movie. So, JD, if you got any words of wisdom for us here, put them in right now.
It stinks.
Oh, yeah, JD, he's crazy. Anyway, that was our episode on Casper. We hope you had a fun time listening to the episode. If you haven't watched the movie, it's worth a watch, at least for me. You can check us out on podcasts on Apple devices, Spotify. We're on YouTube. We got a Discord channel. You can make episode suggestions in there. You can talk about our episodes. You can talk about other stuff in there too. It's a fun time. I think that's going to do it for us for this episode of the Ink and Paint Club podcast. Unless, Kyle, you got any parting words for the audience?
Casper.
All right. Well, I think that's enough to go out on. So we will see you next time.
See ya.
Thanks for listening to the Ink and Paint Club podcast. Be sure to follow us on Facebook and Twitter to keep up with the show. Join our Discord to chat with us. Links are in the description. We'll see you next time.